So I'm from Greece, but I live in Brighton. I began Speak Up Act Out about 7 years ago, and it was a response to, I've always had a sense of wanting to change injustice or what I perceived to be injustice. And I always had a sense that theatre was a great place to do it and to present it. So Speak Up Act Out was something that was born out of the Brighton Forum Theatre Collective. So yes, do you want to go to the next slide, Marianne? Thank you. So what we do is we create public performances, we facilitate workshops, and we also do professional development and training. Public performances that we create are mainly verbatim or forum theatre. So we work a lot with organisations and companies, vulnerable communities. So our Speak Up Act Out doesn't have an agenda in that it works in one sort of area. We work with different communities, creating that space where they can get their stories out there and then put them on a stage to talk about it and create discussions. So the image you see there, which says Rebel Boob, that's our most current piece that we worked on. And Rebel Boob is a post-verbatim piece. So it's partly verbatim, and part of the monologues were based on the interviews about recovery from breast cancer. And this was developed with women who were within 2 years of a breast cancer diagnosis. And it was focused on the recovery period where they were they'd finished active treatment and they had to get back into their lives. The reason this was created is there have been a lot of studies recently that have shown that there's a large number of women and people who, following a cancer diagnosis, they suffer anxiety, or they experience rather anxiety and depression after the active treatment and following a diagnosis. So I wanted to address that and to look at what it is, what happens. And it was talking about things like body image, sense of self and identity, and who they were in the world around them that had suddenly changed. I worked with a choreographer on this project as well, because we felt that some of the monologues and some of the things that had been shared with us were better expressed through movement. It's a very powerful performance to both audiences, but also people who were involved in it. And I think the reason I bring that up is because I believe, as you all do, that everyone has a story to tell. Everyone wants to tell their story. And there was this moment when we first performed Rebel Boob, and it was at the end of the show, and the women that I'd interviewed were sitting in the audience. And after the show, they each ran to the women on stage who had performed their monologues. And they ran to them and they said, "That was my story. You told my story." And it was really quite profound for the performer, but also for the person who'd been interviewed, to have that exchange and to have that relationship. In June, we performed it to doctors, a collective of doctors from around London who were training to be GPs. So it was a GP training scheme. And we did 5 performances with post-show discussions each time. And I think in those discussions was where there was a huge amount of growth and understanding, and where I really felt this sense of the arts and health are coming together and having this conversation without barriers, really understanding each other in light of something like that. But I've spent a lot of time talking about Rebel Boob, and I wanted to just quickly talk about I'll go to the other stuff. So you all know BOAL and Theatre of the Oppressed Forum Theatre. So if you want to go to the next slide, Marianne. So the kind of work that we've done in the past is Contact Order was a show that was focused on the family law system. We took it from the perspective of fathers, because we had fathers have been impacted more by gender bias in the family law system. So in a split up, if when two parents split up, there are a lot more cases of fathers not having access to their child or not being able to see their child. So that was what Contact Order was about. Between You and Me was a piece of work that was, again, forum theatre, focused on the story of an adult male survivor of child sexual abuse. And we worked together with Mankind on this. We worked together with the drama therapist as well. For this particular performance, because usually we work with community actors, for this particular one, I wanted to work with professional actors due to the subject material. I wanted to make sure that their health, that their safety and their mental health was okay dealing with these issues. And I felt it would be too much of a risk to work with people that weren't trained for that. Homeless Not Hopeless and Gay Actually was about microaggressions of homophobia. Homeless Not Hopeless was about homelessness and kind of breaking those myths about being homeless. So all of these work closely with vulnerable people or not vulnerable people and their experiences, but also we work with people, service providers, to make sure that when we're on stage, we're actually offering conversations and information, and it's not just a solution. So with Contact Order, we had a solicitor. We were working with a solicitor. With Mankind, we had psychologists on site in the audience as well, because it's always about making sure the audience is okay, well, that everyone's okay, basically, and everyone's been taken care of. Can we go to the next slide? Thank you. So it's really about, sorry.
I'm just going to ask you to kind of see if you can
be quick.
The next few slides.
So yeah, basically it's about subverting stereotypes and the ideas that people have. A lot of the times the work that I do is, when I've worked with Cascade Creative Recovery or with homeless groups, they've chosen, and I've kind of gone in that direction of the work that they create isn't actually about being homeless. It's not about recovery. It's not about mothers who have depression. What they're doing is finding a way to express themselves through the arts without necessarily talking about the issue that brings them there. Why does this work matter? Because although there's a lot of connectivity and we're talking about being connected, we don't have so much human connection and interaction with each other, and there's a need for it. We're losing the storytelling, and it's really important that we keep telling our stories with each other. There's a lot of increase in civil division, so divide and conquer, people are turning against each other, and it's important that we keep connecting and reminding each other that we're all in this together, and that together we can fight against the system or break the system or change the system. Mental health, we're all aware of the issues of mental health. People are lonely. It's affecting their mental health, their identity. And I think with forum theatre and with work like this and verbatim theatre, it's about creating spaces to have fearless conversations and awareness. And what I mean by fearless conversations is that people aren't afraid to ask questions, and they're not afraid to sort of find out information. There's a lot of fear in the current climate about having honest and open conversations about what's going on in people's lives. Okay, and there's a little quote there about national statistics and loneliness, but that could be basically people are more lonely now than they used to be.